Okay, I'd like to sum things up, what we've been talking about the last few weeks, so that we can move on. So this is to give you, so you have a good picture of what we are, where we are, and what we're going to be talking about in the future. So to sum up, we have the fruit people, we have the meat people, we have the river and the bad meat people down here on the other side of the river. We have the craft side. This is craft. And this is the art side. Nothing is done for money here. Everything is done for money here. On the craft side, besides selling the fruit, they now sell these little bowls made out of clay that they've designed. That's part of the commercial part here. That's craft. On the art, remember, we had a drawing in the rocks about the fight that the fruit people had with the bad meat people, and that was true art, because the artist who had just observed went to the back of his cave and he recorded what he saw. And because he had made the expressions, he gave shape and form to what had happened. The fruit people started coming in to see that, and they enjoyed that because that was something they understood. They understood what had happened. They were kind of aficionados, if you'd say. All right? But there was still this line. No money here, money here. And then what happened was that the meat people began to, as they come over to trade for fruit, they heard about this, and they didn't know much about it. So there's somebody here at the door, and he says, go on in and look at it. It's a battle we had with some bad people from across the river. So they said, okay, we'll go look at it. And they come out, and they're not quite sure what they saw. So then they had these special people here that all they did was tell them exactly what they saw. These would be the critics. Well, the next thing you know, they're coming over here, and they said, I would really like to take some of that back and look at it all the time, So there became these little stalls then, where these guys figured out if they stretched a buffalo hide over some frame, their wood frame, that they could kind of duplicate that on that, and they had these little stalls, and they would actually sell them. So when these meat people would come over, they'd go in there and look at this, and they'd talk about it, and the critic would tell them how good it was, and then they would start to buy some, because they had these little stalls that sold them. So there you have commercial. This art is no different than the fruit they were selling. Instead of fruit, including fruit, they were selling these paintings. You see, that brought money into the art side. That's why the artist had to withdraw back further into the cave, because this had turned into a big commercial venture out here. Do you see that? So that's where we are now. We have to withdraw from this, because this has gotten... What else happened here? And I'll tell you what happened. Pretty soon, this was working pretty good. The critic was telling people, these meat people, about it. They were buying these things. Pretty soon there was more stalls in here, and it was making a pretty good business. There was more of these critics. Well, then these across the river people, bad meat people, eventually they got wise and started killing birds or something, and so they started trading here too, and they started coming up because they were interested in it. And I mean, generations passed, and they had heard about this war, and they go up and look at, and they come in, and so they started charging them at the door, because they were riffraff and they didn't want them in there. Pretty soon they charged everybody going in. So they would come in and they'd look at that stuff, and they didn't know what the whole thing was about, and that's what these critic people were there to tell them what it was about. But what happened is eventually, one day there's an artist that painted these drawings here that they were selling, and one of the dealers here that had this little box, this little stall that was selling. They were sitting there, and one of the critics were sitting there, and they were complaining. They said, there's too many stalls in there, and there's, everything looks alike, and anybody can sell anything, and it's not exclusive. They let that riffraff in here, and they're stupid. They don't know anything about anything. So the critic and the dealer and the artist, they decide that they were going to change that. So the artist takes one of his stretched skins there and pours his juice on it that they were drinking there. He said, that's the new stuff right there. And the stall guy says, well, listen, I'll sell that if somebody. We could probably sell it to those people from across the river. They don't know anything. And the critic says, no, we'll sell it to the meat people because they got all the money. I'll just explain to them that this stuff is, now that the riffraff's in here and looking at it, that they got to get beyond that. So that's what happened. The critic tells the meat people and the fruit people, hey, this is all riffraff stuff in here. The good stuff is, look at this. They showed him that skin with the stain on, fruit juice stain on it, and they said, yeah, this is what you should be buying. This is the latest. So they started buying that. That's how we got abstract art in there, and that's how they continued the money thing, and pretty soon there's such a jumble, nobody knows what's going on anymore. True art, originally way back underneath the layers of all this, as this generations move along, people forgot about what that original art was about, or that it was done without money involved. So we had to move this line, put the money, that's all in the money part now. Now we're over here where the true art is. And that's where we are today, you and I, right here. Those of you who want true art. We have to leave all that stuff alone. Forget everything. Forget the critics, the museums, the galleries, the craft, the whole bunch of it. Just chuck it off. Let them go on their way. We're going to stay over here and do some true art. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're on this side of the line now. If you want to stay on that side line, okay, go watch somebody else. But if you want to be on this side of the line, come back every week, and that's what we're going to talk about from the Book of Art. Okay, go to my website, send me an email. See you next week.